What's up, everybody? What's up? Welcome to the Mr. Straight Facts Show. Today, we're just going to cover one topic, but in depth. Why? Because if you know the name of this, it's called about shuttering the Department of Education. Why would you want to do something like that? And I've heard a lot throughout the day, people talking about, on the Republican side, oh, it's only 10% of something. And other people saying, it's 4% of the entire, budget, and so on and so on. I think parents need to know, grandparents need to know, people need to be informed about what it is and what it does. Now, the budget, and this I think was 2024, not the 2025 budget of it, it was $268 billion. Okay. Now, what most people don't know is that the federal government, we already pay taxes into it. Our taxes are our taxes. The majority of what your kid is paying, or you're paying for your kid to go to school, is through state and local taxes and property taxes. That's where the majority of the money is coming from. Now, it may not seem like a lot to some, but it's a lot to many as far as the federal government goes. The federal government gives anywhere between, or provides anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000 per student. Now, again, people may not think that's much. It is a lot compared to, taking it away, which means your state, local, or, property tax is going to have to go up. Other things may have to go up, or they just give your kids less of an education. Now ask yourself, why would you want your child to have a worse education for the same amount of money, or having to pay, when you have to subsidize this, in which you have to pay more taxes, you're paying more into it to get the same education. How is that helping your students? How is that helping the American people? It's not. It's not whatsoever. So I don't understand. How do you sell destroying your kid's education as a plus? And I think it's because most people have no idea what they're doing. Now you're talking about like the citizens. I think the citizens don't know what these politicians and people are doing. So we're going to go into it a little bit. Okay, just to give you a little backstory, I started doing this years and years ago when my kids were little. My kids are like 25 and 20 right now, about to be 25. And when they were little, I found out how this system works. Hey, Rooted and Planet Janet. I found out how this system works for public schools. And we lived in the suburbs, but doesn't matter, public schools. So my kids, were really good in school. They were, when they were really young, it was straight A's. When they didn't have A's, then they had numbers, whatever, or letters and good, or, extraordinary, or whatever they had, the terms and adjectives they had for kids. But when they were like in elementary, they were way ahead of most students. That's not a flex. It's just saying that's the way it was. And so they were, they read ahead of everybody. They had my son and my daughter both were like really great at math. So they were they were always like, they had the percentiles and all that stuff like that where your kid stands. My kids were always way above, like at the 99, whatever percentile. So I was always proud of that, because I was a straight A student. I was proud of that. My kids had that as well. And so whenever we had parent-teacher situations where we'd go and talk to the teachers and stuff like that, when it first started out, they were telling us exactly how our kids were doing. And we'd go and just be like beaming, parents, me and my ex-wife, we'd be beaming, and now we take our kids, go get ice cream or whatever it is they want, just so that we can validate to tell them that, hey, you're doing a great job, keep it up. And they loved it. We all had that, that family day. And one time I came, and now mind you, at this time, and it happened different for each child, but it happened both times. The first time was my son, who's the oldest. So while we were there in the class and everything like that with the teacher, I'm like, it doesn't seem like, where's the unsatisfactory part? Or what did my son, what did he do? For you to not, do this. She said, we'll talk after class. We'll talk after class. And, I'm heated. I'm sitting in the corner, just sitting there. I'm like, yeah, we're going to talk after class. Because I don't understand what he's did. What's been going on? You know what I'm saying? So I didn't want to get mad at my child first. I just wanted to relax and kind of like sit in the corner. I had nothing else to say in that class until I found out what she was saying. She didn't want to talk around the rest of the parents. And I asked, just a simple question, like, what is this, satisfactory when my son is not only good at like reading, he's teaching other kids. So I'm like, that is he going through a problem? Very concerned parent. Do we need to work on something? We'll talk about it. All right. So after everybody was gone, me and my ex sat down and talked to this teacher. And so I'm sitting there listening to what she had to say. And she said, well, your son has been excellent. He's doing great in school, all that. And I said, yes, but let's get to that satisfactory. He's always extraordinary. Where do you get the satisfactory from? Is he having problems, stuff like that? She said, no. The way the system's set up. I'm like, what system? A class system? No, the way the schools. And she said, we don't get the funding if we don't show improvement. And I said, say what? She said, we don't get funding, like extra funding, if we don't show improvement. And I said, I said, so what does that mean? Are you telling me that my son is extraordinary at reading and you're giving him satisfactory so that by the end of the year, he's moved from satisfactory to extraordinary, or whatever that thing is, more than satisfactory, whatever it was labeled. So you're showing improvement. And I said, well, here's the thing. If you're saying satisfactory and my son sees that because you're sending it home with him, he's going to think that he's not doing hard enough work. And therefore, it's going to mess with my child's mind just so that you guys can get more money. I said, that should not be the case. And she said, well, that's how they do it. And your son is doing great. Don't worry about it. I'm giving him extra work and giving him this, that, and the third. And I said, I get it. I said, but when he sees that, he's going to feel deflated, even though he's excellent. We look at those things as metrics. And she's like, yeah, I understand. I said, you don't understand. You guys are playing mind games with the children so you can get more money from the government to show improvement. Why don't you actually do something that improves my child? If he's already at this level, that means to me that you're not going to show him to have extraordinary level. You're going to teach him at the level in which you putting down on this piece of paper. So by the end of the year, he should have been, way beyond, giving him more challenging things. But you're trying to teach him at a place where he's going to feel like this is too easy for me. I'm like, something's wrong with that, right? And she said, well, I'll continue giving him stuff like that. It's just in a document. I'll keep doing it for him, and I'll keep giving him extra stuff and, stretching his mind. I said, well, you do that, but it also better show in these progress reports, or you shouldn't give them to him until you have the excellent, because this is not right. So I go to the principal, set up a meeting, and I talked to the principal. I said, so what is this trickery? What are you doing? I said, you may be able to give him a document or something like that may be fake. Okay, you can hand out some fake stuff to your funding people, but my child needs to see the correct stuff. I don't care what you send to the government, but what you send my child home better be what he and later on she actually deserved, not what you decide to do to make more money. I understand you want to get more funding, but don't use my child to do it. And I don't want you to use theirs either, but I'm fighting for mine. Don't do that for my child. And so I realized that, and I dug deep, started finding out, okay, how much from the Department of Education are my children receiving at this middle school? At the time I did it for my second child, not my first one. I didn't even think about that, but my second child, it happened again. And I was like, wait a minute. It was a different teacher, and I had to go back. And at that time, I think it was still the same principal. And so she wouldn't give me a meeting the second time. She would not. She didn't want to talk to me. So I just walked in. You know how you pick up your children. I just walked in and pulled her to the side. I said, "I see you ducking and diving, but you're doing it to my baby, and we're gonna have to do something about this because otherwise, I work for the media. I'm gonna expose it because this is ridiculous." So she was like, "Well, okay, we'll do whatever." And so I don't know whether they did it for all children, but they started doing the right thing by my children. So it really helped me see when it happened to my daughter. I said, how much are they getting from the federal Department of Education for them to be pulling this trickery? And it turns out at my school, this school we were going to, my children were going to, it was $1,300 per child, just average student, right? If you have a special needs child, it's usually twice as much. So as of today, I did the research. Each child, Department of Education is receiving from K through 12th grade is receiving around $1,500 to $2,000 per child. Again, special needs, we're looking at $3,000 to $4,000 or something like that per child. And I said, okay, all right. So I don't know if they're pulling those tricks anymore. I'm pretty sure they are, but I hope not. But the thing is, they're receiving, which with this amount, like I said, the budget is $268 billion, which is 4% of our entire budget for the United States, whatever. But these kids are receiving that amount of money. Now, I don't know about you. But when my kids were in school, it still wasn't enough money in the school. And we lived in the suburbs. We still had to bring toner. Yeah, back then, toner. Or parents would buy printers for the teacher or buy, whatever the teacher may need. They would send these students home. I know when I grew up, they send us home having to sell anything from cookies to candy to cheese to, summer sausages. You would sell something almost every, few months. It was something else your kid had to go and sell to be able to subsidize whatever it may be. Right? The kids want to go on a field trip. They're out here selling candy and cookies and, having a sleepover and whatever. And it was just, and that's including your kid getting money from the federal government through the Department of Education. Thank you, David Beck. I appreciate the gift. And it says right here, you're the 10th super on a live stream. I appreciate it. So in this process, I started realizing, okay, wait a minute. Donald Trump and these MAGA minion Republicans, they've been talking. Republicans before MAGA have been talking about, kind of gutting the Department of Education and a lot of things like that nature. And you start to ask yourself, why was it even created, right? Now, the Department of Education was created a long, long time ago, but the part in which it actually started creating regulations and things of that was 1980, right? It went into place in 1980. I think in 1979 or something like that, 78, it was President Carter who got it passed and it was enacted. And it did more than what it used to. Before, it was just to get metrics and statistics on what the children are doing, so they know, what's going on. If their kids were smarter than Chinese kids or, whatever kids, that's what it was to begin with. And then it became a situation of helping. And along with all that, you started getting busing because of the education was off kilter. And it gave a lot of people opportunities. Now, I'm just talking K through 12. It also helped in Pell Grants and helped people go to college who would have never gone to college. I received Pell Grants when I went to college, right? So, and a lot of people did. My kids did. So in this situation, you start to realize that without the Department of Education, middle class and poor people their kids are going to go through hell. So why are we talking about cutting the Department of Education at all? How does that help the majority of Americans? The thing is this. There are different types of grants that are given, Title I, for low income, students. You know what I'm saying? Giving low income. When I was younger, I was a low income student. I wouldn't have had the opportunities to realize of my full potential if I not had these opportunities, right? Like I said, Pell Grants, they would need based as well for low income undergraduate students. You have Title IV, which is student aid, and that is like enhancing like students' support and academic enrichment. So you have all these different programs that these people are talking about cutting. Now, how are you going to replace it? How are you going to replace that? They have not given the American citizen, the public, how they're going to replace any of this. You know, when I grew up, I don't know about anybody else, I'm 54. When I grew up, I was always taught, whether it's by my mom, my uncle, or other adults, my friends' parents, you don't quit something unless you have something to put in its place. So you don't quit a job unless you got another one. Because that in between time, you can go broke and live on the street. So you better make sure that if you're going to quit a job, you better have something already in place, right? If you want any kind of security. These people are talking about taking away the Department of Education, but there's nothing, no parachute, no nothing. They're just saying that it can be cut and everything will be fine. That's so not true. That is so not true. If you don't replace it, where does the money come from? That's the point. It doesn't come from the government anymore. Our taxes aren't paying for it. But here's the thing. Your taxes are going down. That money's going to still be going into the government. Your taxes are not coming down just because they're going to get rid of something like this. No. So what does that mean? Well, one of a few things. Let's take one of the obvious. Okay. That means your kid is going to receive, the thing is that per family, there's about 2 school-aged children on average, right? Some people have more, some people have none. But the average is, they say 1.9 to 2. There's no 1.9 children. So 2 children that you have, school-aged children. So we're talking about if for a family, it's up to $4,000 that is not going to be paid for your kids to go to school every year, right? Most families, when I quoted a few days ago, a quote from 2000, I think 18 or 19, it was 80% of families in America live check to check. And then I recently heard Bernie Sanders say, and I checked it, now it's literally, I don't know what's going to happen after these, raising tariffs and all that stuff like that, raising taxes. It's 60% of Americans live check to check. How can a family living check to check come up with an extra $4,000 per child? I don't know how you come up with it. Another job? And that's to receive the same education you're getting now, which isn't the best education. You want your education to get better. Parents complain all the time that the educational system right now isn't what it's cracked up to be. And so you take money out of it, it's going to get worse. And what do you mean by worse? We mean that if your kids are in a room with 30 students now, they may end up with 50, 100 kids in one room. How the hell your kid's going to learn anything from that? Again, the basics that I see that happens with Republicans or anybody for that matter that tries to go after programs that help people, they think about the money. They don't think about the people. These students, they can't vote at all. And they don't have a choice in the matter. And they're being treated like they don't matter. We have to realize that I don't know where this country got off track with thinking that, our kids can just be stupid and that the world's going to be great. There's a reason why even, Elon Musk and Donald Trump are talking about, they want these visas to be able to get smart people from other countries to come here and work for their companies or whatever they have. It's because they say there's not enough smart people in America. Well, if you're not educating them, of course not. You're talking about getting rid of their education? Of course not. So what is the goal? to get a bunch of immigrants to come here from other countries that are really smart, and the people who live here do what? Work menial jobs? It doesn't make any sense. We used to cherish and value education. I mean, it was something to look up to. And now it's like, you can have it. You don't have to have it. I can understand you want that choice for yourself, but when other countries that are producing people that are really good or excellent at math, at English, because they notice them being smart in that, and they give them those courses mostly so they can tap into that child's full potential, then that child becomes basically just extraordinary in that field. And then everybody wants them. So America's like, hey, come here. We'll pay you astronomical numbers to be able to come here and share your brilliance with us. Their country spent the money invested in that child to make them that way, to help them get to that particular part of their life. And we're just, let's just go pick and pluck them out of everywhere. Why don't you pluck them out of America? Why don't you give the American kids those same types of education so we can become number one and be able to draw and tap into American bodies that are just that bright to do the job? It makes no sense that you're going out and finding people, importing people that American citizens could be doing those exact jobs, but you're taking away the Department of Education, at least that's what you want to do, and have been trying to starve it for years. When everybody's saying we need to invest more into it, you guys want to gut it or get rid of it. You got to understand the undertone. It's like, do you guys not like the American people? Are you trying your best to turn the American citizens into like slave labor? I mean, really, I don't get the ideology behind it. And I wish they would explain it, but they're not. They're not going to go into detail about what they're doing and why they're doing it, because it seems like it's a facetious reason that they're doing what they're doing. Think about it. If your kids, and most of our kids are growing pretty short, but maybe grandkids, don't have these opportunities like being able to go to school and having Pell Grants to get them through, you know how many middle class and poor people won't be able to obtain college? The ones who want to go. I'm not saying everybody wants to go, but the ones who want to go and who are capable, they're going to have to rely on, hopefully, that they'll still provide, scholarships, but they're going to have to rely on that fully. No Pell Grants. I mean, I understand people want to save money. They want money. They want money. I'm like, but it's going to cost us more money for these things to happen. If you have 2 children, that's $8,000, right? $8,000 for you. Or if it's 15 and 2, $4,000 for you. I'm sorry, $4,000 for you per child. If your child is, one of your children is disabled or has a not mental, but a special needs, special education type of thing, they get twice as much. Think about this for a second too. Your kid, if they have special needs, dyslexia or anything of that nature, and anything that may be more hardened, not only is the $4,000 coming out of your pocket, they're going to charge you more for the special needs children. How can the average family support that when they're living check to check? The average family in America are just a few paychecks away from being homeless. And we're going to figure out how to come up with an extra paycheck or two for each child? No. More than likely, your local, state, and property taxes are going to skyrocket. Your, again, state taxes, you may pay in California, we're like at 10%. It's going to move up, 12, 15%, something crazy. in your state, whatever it may be. In states that don't have it, may have to get it, like Las Vegas. They have no state tax. But if your schools end up, not getting federal funds, they may have a small, but they may end up getting a state tax. It's just a lot to take on. And for these people to come out and act like, oh yeah, we can cut. And how many of you wonder, like, why are you cutting education? Go cut the Pentagon. I mean, the things that I heard that they have done, like just developing planes that they never use, they spend $1 trillion. They've went from, and I forgot the numbers on it, but it's like the F-16 or whatever it was back in the day. They had it, they dismantled, they said they ain't gonna use it anymore. They went to something, the F-22, whatever it may be, went to that, spent another $1 trillion. Then they went to another plane, I don't remember the number for that, and they spent another $1 trillion, or $2 trillion. That didn't work out. They're going back to the F-16, but it's got another number, FA or something like that. And that was another few $1 trillion, if it's $1 or $2 trillion. All these other planes never went into action. I think one of them, they said, shot down a weather balloon. That's all it did for the $1 trillion that they spent in it, and they don't want it anymore. Why don't we focus on that? They said they only want to cut $2 trillion. Cut 2 of those planes out. It's a wrap. You've cut it. What are we waiting on? Cut 2 of those planes out. It's done. $2 trillion gone. Look, woohoo, you did something. No, you're going after every average American citizen and making them pay more. When it comes to percentage-wise, you and me pay more in taxes than millionaires and billionaires. Percentage-wise. And when you want to cut, you don't want to raise their taxes up a percent or 2. They still be paying less than us. Percentage-wise. It's amazing to me how either Americans don't care or how we're uninformed or don't want to find out. And we can't hold them accountable if we know nothing about these things. And that's what we need to do. I'm going to go ahead and read some of the comments that we have here. I see you guys conversing, so try and connect. Let's see what we got. You can subscribe to the channel as well if you can. If you not already did it, become a member or support the show. Let's go back. I see Rude Interplanet Janet. Vouchers are meant to help the wealthy pay for private schools. Yes. And here's the thing. Why do the wealthy need help? I mean, it's really not going to hurt them to pay. Isn't that the reason why if we are even in this country trying to reach the American dream, is to get wealth so that we don't have to worry about finances, that we can fund everything, don't even have to worry about it because, you're living off of interest, basically, if we want to get to that type of wealth. But these people have gotten to the point where they got the wealth and they're beyond greedy. It's like, dude, for your kid, it probably costs $100,000, to send them to school for that year. If you're going to like a private school and it's like, really like one of the elite schools, right? So let's say you're paying $100,000 a year. If you're making $1 million to $8 million a freaking day, that's nothing. You're going out and buying $100,000 chains or, going out and buying $1 billion yacht. You're telling me you got an issue with paying for your kids' full education, that you want vouchers so that your kids can get, some break off? Boy, I'm telling you, it is insane. Azure said, Jester, I love the poorly educated, the Great Orange Menace. Yeah, that's the part. Not being educated about these things puts people in bad positions. And, I don't know whether people have to have some kind of like tremendous self-hate to not look into something and say, wait a minute, that's going to increase my taxes. All they keep listening to is one-sided. He's making it sound like we're cutting back so the government will work efficiently. Oh, well, everybody wants that. But everybody knows if you budget at all, You don't have to be some economic guru to know that you just need to lower everything or in it at the same time bring in more capital. So if you're going to bring in more capital, that's either raising taxes, and not on everybody, raising it to a point where the wealthy are paying their fair share, right? If we're paying, let's say, just to give a number, if we're paying 25%, somewhere in that range, if the rich are paying like 7 to 8%, they should come closer to the 20%. But even if they came up from like a 12 to a 1 point to 13, that's a lot of money to be able to put down on the debt. Bringing it from 12 to 15 is still under what we pay percentage wise. You notice when whenever a rich person tells you how much tax they always tell you how much money I put $100 million on taxes. I'm like, oh wow, that sounds great. How much is that a percentage of your income? Oh, 0.0013. What the fuck was that then? You put in pennies to what you're worth, and we're over here paying taxes, and we're paying like bills with the taxes. We owing $300, $500, $1,000 at the end of the year. For some people, it depends on what state you're living in. That's rent. And you're over here paying what? Fuel for your plane? One of your jets? No, that can't be. That can't be. And that's the problem. They're gutting the average citizen, always looking how they can just take some more from you. And you're barely, like I said, 60% of us are barely getting by. On top of that, when they're talking about stocks and so forth, they're telling people to be quiet about that. It goes up and down. I'm like, when you got billions in there and you're losing 200 billion, okay. Those are just numbers in your head at this point. They say, I just lost, one of mine. I could have bought like at least 2 yachts off of that. I lost that. Okay, whatever. But when you got a person who's 401k is for their retirement. They don't work their entire life and amass like $1 million. And they'll lost, like almost 10% of that, if not more, in a few days. It's like, wait a minute. And I think it was like 4 or 6%, whatever. But they lost that in a matter of days. That's scary as shit. Even if you are a person who likes to do, to trade and so forth, or to have a 401k and you keep on doing it, that's a lot to lose. Not to say that it won't come back, but it's due stress for no reason. It's not like the economy is doing it because the economy is just being the economy. It's because one group of people are forcing this pain on American citizens, forcing it on us. We ain't asking for this. Yes, cut back the government, but please go where there's more before you go where there's less. Department of Education, like I said, budget is $268 billion. Like I said, they got plane contracts that are worth trillions. Hello? Do we need them? Maybe not. Get rid of them for a year, see if we need them. Take the $2 trillion back. And you said you wanted to save $2 trillion. It's just that simple. But no, they don't want that. They want it to cause pain to American citizens. You're firing people who are paying into the tax system, to the government. So that means as you're firing people, less taxes are coming back into our government. So you think you're making money when in fact less money is going to come in to the government. What we brought in, I think last year, was it? I think it was 4.44 trillion. When you start firing people, that 4.4 something trillion is going to go down. We spent over 6.29. I said 9.2 one time. I'm going to get dyslexic with it, but still $6 trillion. We're basically $2 trillion in the hole. If there's no taxes coming in, so now it's going to be under 4 trillion. No, as far as what they've done so far, maybe it'd be like 4.42 trillion, whatever the heck it is. But still, they're talking about taking 2 trillion out of it. I don't think America's gonna be able to sustain that. And then on top of that, this shows about the Department of Education. Our kids are not going to have jobs worth a damn without the education to be able to get a career. How are you going to get a career with poor education? You can get a job, I'm sure, but a career? Going to colleges? This reminds me of back in the day where only rich white people went to college. And everybody else was like, oh my God, I would love to go to college, but I'm over here milking the cows. It's like, what? That's what it seems like they're trying to go back to. They're destroying the economy. They're acting like it's nothing. I don't see how you say that, you've lost $4 trillion since you've been in office, somewhere like that. And you say, it's nothing. They talked about the price of eggs. They tell everybody, shut up about the price of eggs. We couldn't get you to shut up talking about you was going to lower the price of eggs. For the entire year or 2 years you was running, price of eggs is going to go down. Price of eggs is going to go down. You couldn't shut up. You was at every rally talking about how you're going to lower the egg prices because Biden can't do it. You're going to do it on day one. And now you're telling them to shut up about it. It's insane, y'all. D West, it says they can cut out some of Elon's contract and save a lot of money. Yeah, like I said, that's another thing. It's like, I understand that we want to cut back, but everybody knows the logical way to do that is to go to one department first. If you only got one team, okay, those is like a one team situation, then they should go with the one that has the most, not the least. Education, we should be investing more into education. We need to tap into our brilliant children. The ones who are at genius level, but, parents are poor or middle class and can't do it. As opposed to, the rich, they don't need anything. It's like, again, they say they want to be fair and everybody gets the same opportunities, but they really don't. They really want the rich to have all the opportunities and everybody else to the wayside. If you get some, good. If you don't, your fault. You should work as hard as I do. And many of them, not all of them, were born into wealth. I don't know where that hate comes from. The disgust for the middle class and the working class people. I don't know where that hate comes from. It's just insane. Hey, Vera, how you doing? I don't have any kids or nieces and nephews. This is rude. Not rude, but you know what I'm saying. This does not stop me from wanting a better life for people I don't know who come after me. Come on, rude. Come on. Love that. Love that. Thinking about other people, realizing that you got to leave the world better off than it was before. And think about it. If you have your life, right? You're here. If you don't leave the place better, then you being here didn't matter. If it's the same as it was before your generation came in, your generation wasn't needed. It's null and void. If the last generation is the only one that did something, and your kids have got to start pretty much where the last generation started, your entire generation was shitless. It wasn't worth a damn thing. You didn't do anything for anybody. Nobody should want that. And that's what I see and kind of get an example from these Trump people. They wanted to go back as if an entire generation just should never matter. Let's go back to it when, I don't know what era. Each one of them has a different one. I've had so many people do interviews with them, and some of them want to go back to the 1700s and the 1600s and the 1800s. I'm like, you don't know where the hell you want to go. You just want to have a better life just because you were white, not because you worked harder or you did something better. You want to go back to the point where whiteness was actually some kind of wealth and it meant something without you ever having to do anything. That's the way I look at it. Because it's like, who wants to go back to the past when in the past wasn't the best? I mean, I like the past in the sense of the individual family bubble. I love my uncles and aunts and things of that nature. But I was a kid. I didn't have anything to do with the real world, right? I didn't have anything to do with, getting paid less. I didn't have anything to do with going to work and being called the N-word. I didn't have anything to do with, being a woman and treated disrespectfully when I was 7 or 8 years old. So I look upon those times as like, wow, wonderful. Our parents did not. So yes, the past looks good for the kids, but those who are women, those who are of color, those who were poor, it really and was going through it, it was not the greatest of times. Maybe when they got home from work and hung out with the family, yeah, there was a lot of biases back then. We don't want to go back there. We want to go forward, have a better place, a better world. That's what I agree with you, Rude Interplanet Janet, like 100%. Let's see who else we got in here. Vera, I'm afraid of what kind of future my nephews will have when they get older. I agree with you. I agree with you. Um, like I said, my kids are in their 20s, and I worry they're just now starting their lives out to some degree. And, one moved to, I'm in LA, one moved to Vegas, and the other one just moved to Washington, Seattle, Washington. And, them being away, all these different things. I don't know what the world's going to be like for them. As a parent, you want to protect forever, but you can't. They're in the long distance, ain't long, but longer than they were before. And so, the way this world is and so many opportunities being taken away, a lot of kids, if they're not doing what we're doing, content creating or doing their own thing, one thing I like about this era that we have now is that people have an opportunity to create a niche and a life for them, young people and older people as well, where they wouldn't have had the opportunity before. I grew up in an era where doing something like I'm doing right now, I had to impress a boss to put me on air to do something. I had to, capitulate. I had to act like, prim and proper or speak a certain way and code switch and all these other things just so that I can get the opportunity to even get in the room. You know what I mean? And now, you're able to come out and just be yourself and do the things that you can do and what you're capable of. Be able to share, be able to transform lives, that you don't have to be this robot and speak the same way and do the same things and listen to your boss tell you that, oh, don't bring this up because the ratings is this and that. No, you bring up everything. And sometimes, people are going to like it. Some people are not. You can't worry about that. Be 100% your authentic self. And then people who like you will be drawn to you. People who hate you may even come towards you and say some things, but that part doesn't matter. As long as you're trying to, improve your life and save other lives as well and improve other people, you're doing everything right. Let's see who else has something to say here. We'll give people love. Thank you for, I got the gift from, that was before I already said that, David. Thank you. Any more questions? Or, there we go. Somebody said, in the night, save wit. If I can get this thing to stop it. No, there we go. Save wit. In the 90s, I knew my mother was on vacation when she came home with braids in her hair. Yeah. You could tell when your family goes on vacation. I'm not Catholic, but there was this saint called Saint Therese. Is it Teresa or Therese? Her claim to fame was the little things, how the small acts of kindness are so important and add up and make an impact. Yeah, true enough. Yeah, I read a book many years ago. It was something about the little things or small things or something like that. It's a small book. I can't remember the name of the title right now. I'll probably find it and put it in the comment section here if anybody wants to read it. But it was small, and it was all about just staying positive and paying attention to the small things in life because those are the things that really matter. And yeah, I totally agree with that. You really one of the things I realized growing up, because I was always like not always competitive with other people, but competitive, I know for damn sure with myself, is I was always trying to be better the next day. I was trying to be better. And I still have that in me. And often I'll find out too that oftentimes we get caught up in stuff and we never really stop and smell the roses. And even that, when I was younger, when I heard that phrase, I really didn't quite get it. It's simple, but when you're a workaholic and you're a person who's always trying to achieve a goal and all these different things like that, you start to believe the roses is your accomplishments, right? You're like, oh, I'm working here. Oh yeah, I got this. Oh, this happened. Oh, that happened. Oh, I got 15,000 subscribers. I got this. Those are your like roses. Like, oh man, somebody appreciates what I'm doing. Those are the roses. But in actuality, those are the gifts from what you're built and what you're created to be. But the roses are really taking life a little short. Literally, going out and doing things without thinking about the game plan. Going out and just doing things that make you feel good. If you like to bowl, or you like to go drink wine, excuse me, you like to go fly a kite, listen to the ocean, read a book, the slowing down of life and appreciating all the things you have. I got mentioned before, my mom had a stroke. The idea of being able to move your hands the way you move them, to do the things that you do every day. I've always been appreciative. When I get out of bed, I'm thanking God that He woke me up again to be of service of some way, shape, or form, to make somebody else's day, at the same time make my own day, and travel through that day in a positive way, and try not to let things disturb me enough that it disturbs my happiness. But you still got to be, adamant about making the world a better place. And sometimes that it may look like anger, but it's really passion. You want to make a change. And one of the things I realized early on, doing, content and other things like this, as I speak in public a lot. At least I used to. Not so much now, but I used to go out and give speeches and things of that nature. Inspirational speaking is what I do. But, I would do those types of things, and everybody thought for some reason, oh, you're going to always, people are going to think that you're always happy out when you get off stage, things of that nature. You're not always happy. Nobody's always happy, but it's the way you think about life. There are going to be some times when you're down. There's going to be times you're up, but just focus on, the things you have. One of the main things that I do whenever I feel down or I'm not that happy about something, I think of five things that I'm blessed to have right now. I can breathe. You know what I'm saying? I got my sight. I got my health. My kids are doing well and they're healthy. Things of that nature. And when I think of those things, it brings me back to center. Like, you have more, the things that you're getting depressed about or upset about, those don't matter. All those other things you got do. Those are things that you're trying to either achieve or get over. And in due time you will. But the things you already have, be appreciative of. Stop always trying to be somewhere else when you're right here. And that's also a part of like smelling the roses. What do you have around you right now that smells good, feels good in your life? And I ain't talking about actually smells like plants or anything like that. I'm just talking about inside of you. What do you feel like? Man, this is just good in my life right now. We often take little time, very little time in that space. We're always off to the next thing. If you ever find yourself, and that's what I notice with a lot of people and even myself throughout life, is that you have a wonderful day and then something happens. Somebody cuts you off. You order some food and it's whatever. It's not good. They miss something by the time you get home. They forgot your fries or they forgot your drink or shake or whatever it may be. And you are livid. It's like the whole world fell apart. You're just pissed off. You're like, nah, you think I go back and get it. So you get thrown out of your happiness and your joy. And it's hard to get that back. Right? And the thing is that when you're happy and you're joyful of something happening, like you achieve some monumental achievement, got a raise, got, won a trophy, whatever, that fades so quick. It's like, man, I won that. The next day, you ain't on that high no more. But if something pissed you off, 3 days later, you're like, damn, I can't believe that happened. You still pissed off about it. That's when I think I started to realize that you got to focus on your mental health. Why are you still pissed off about the thing that happened for days, as opposed to being excited for days about what you've achieved or accomplished, or whatever made you happy? Because it's weird how we get happy for a minute and pissed off for a lifetime. Happy for a minute when you should be happy just by waking up. Even when, no matter what you're in, if you still got breath in your lungs, you can always get out of it. It can always pass as long as you're working toward it. And those types of things are what I mean by smell the roses. Smell what you have instead of like always trying to find something else. It's not always that thing is going to be what you expect it to be. That's what friends of mine who have made it to be wealthy, it shocks you that they aren't as happy. It's crazy how some of the people I know who have money were happier when they were broke. And I would be like, how do you see that? It's just so much pressure on their lives that they're like not happy. Either happy they got the money, but they're not happy that they have that pressure. It's really odd. But again, those types of things, even that person, I'm like, focus on your mental health. Why are you placing so much pressure on the actual part that you call pressure, and not on the part of your accomplishment? And that's what I kind of focus on and try to offer people. And even myself, I drove through the same process. Nobody's perfect, right? But those are the things that we do. How stupid that bag. What? Thank you for that, Drew. I needed to hear that. Oh, you're welcome, Vera. I don't know what you were saying there, Rude and Infinite Janet. Sarcastic. I'll say I heard that quote. Oh, yeah, I was talking about something in the room. My wife and his family would most likely be dead if we were still in Jim Crow era. Yeah, true. But, everybody we all have, different sides to us. Nobody's a monolith. I'm often on here very passionate, and, I care. So I get mad about things that I just like, man, you can't help people. They got to help themselves, but you try your damnedest to inform people so that they, when we was a kid, the thing about, I'll bring up someone when I was a kid. Remember that cartoon, George of the Jungle? And they say, watch out for that tree. You're always giving people this knowledge so they don't hit the tree. And when they hit it, it's like, man, why aren't people listening? So you'll see me passionate because I'm trying to save people, from things based off of, facts and knowledge and, and opinions on those particular facts and knowledge. But it's a tough process. I have a mental health show, which is actually tonight, that I deal with, so that I can meditate and kind of like chill out over some of this stuff. Oftentimes these things that we're going through, like this education thing, there's no upside to getting rid of the Department of Education. It's all bad. There's no upside to it, because I'm gonna explain it a little bit more, and then we're gonna move on. But a lot of what they're doing, Republicans, MAGA, Donald Trump, is something that they've always wanted, and that is to move education to privatization. And I just want to give anybody who's within earshot of me to understand that privatizing schools is a horrific idea. Why? First off, your school has to make money now. It's got to be profitable. What does that do? That means schools are going to close down because businesses close. If they're not receiving federal funds or subsidies from the government, which they don't have to pay back, how our schools are going to educate our kids? If they need to make money, privatization, they're going to give vouchers or something of that nature, and then the parents are going to have to pay the rest. Can you afford to send your kids to school K through 12 if it's like sending them to college? If you privatize it, that's what it's going to be like. Sending your kids to college, K through 12. Because whatever they set the profit of whatever they want to do, let's say school costs throughout a year really $15,000 per student. They're going to want you to come up with that $15,000. The government's not getting any money. And a voucher's not going to pay for it all, because then that'd be the same thing as having a Department of Education pay for stuff. So where's the 15 grand going to come from? Out of your pocket. If you don't have 15 grand, what's going to happen? Your kids are going to be doing menial labor. That's why they're trying to get 13, 14, 15-year-olds to start working again. From when they were back in the day, you couldn't get a job unless you was 15 and a half. You get a work permit, and then 16, you can have a job. They want to give kids jobs. These are the Republicans. Why? Because they're going to get rid of education, privatize it. So if you can't afford to go to school, you can work for my company. Do we want that for our kids? Hell no. That's where they're going toward. And if we do nothing about it, and we fall through this save money like ruse, you're putting your grandkids or kids in a position where they are going to have to work a full-time job at 13, 14 years old, because you're not going to be able to help pay the 15 grand or whatever it may be for your kid to go to school. There won't be any free schools. The state may help out in that situation, but why would they help out when it's privatized? I don't think people think this stuff through. And those things need to be broadcast. I don't know why the news is not saying this. I don't know why anybody's not saying this like loud and proud. People who got millions of followers or subscribers, why aren't you saying this? If they privatize schools, your kids will become factory workers. That's it. And not that factory workers are bad, but it's bad for a 13-year-old, 14-year-old to be working in a factory. They should be in school being a kid. Sometimes when they say not all money is good money, right? Paying these taxes, not always saving taxes is a good thing. We need to keep our schools federally funded. And that's still only a small percentage. The states need to pay it. But if the states relinquish education to privatization, then the states are going to try and save money and put that somewhere else, and more than likely investing it into businesses. This is a money grab. And it's so sad that they don't care about anybody else's children but their own. And I believe what's even sadder is that the American citizen is not researching this so that they can protect their loved ones. They're listening and caring, not all of them, but they're caring. I don't hear enough people being loud against this, but they're caring about their bottom line, their financial bottom line, and they're not caring so much about how hard it's going to be, because your bottom line is going to get worse when the government doesn't pay for this. And your taxes aren't going to just be lowered by $1,500 because of the fact that you don't have to send your kid to school and they don't pay it to your school anymore. No, that $1,500 that they're giving your kid, Elon Musk and those people want you to put it in their pocket so they can play with it and invest it and make a crap ton of money off of it. Check out what he's doing now with Doge. Giving himself contracts, stealing contracts from Verizon, who already won it, and he lost it. He went fair and square, and now he's in the Doge, and he's in there just taking people's contracts for billions. That one right there, I think, is a $2 trillion or something like that. Was it $2 billion? Somewhere around there. One of those two. But it's sad, and it needs to end. America needs to rise up, tell them we ain't going to take this shit no more. And if that's the case, we also need to start electing people in our communities that are literally talking like I'm talking about education. We can cut back on certain things, of course. If there's some extra spending, of course. But you got to be honest here. In public schools, not unless they are spending this money in places that they shouldn't be, even in good public schools, they still don't have enough funding for your child. They just don't. They don't have enough state funding for your child. We need to be increasing, not decreasing, that particular fund. Because as it is, with the education as it is, these major corporations and these billionaires, they don't even want to hire the employees here. They're talking about going out overseas to get them. Because they're not smart enough, according to Elon. And so if that's the case, we're setting our kids up to fail. I don't want that, and I'm sure many of you don't want that. Hey, Patrick. Hey, Luigi. So this is what I think we need to do, is to contact, the politicians in your community and tell them you don't want them to get rid of the Department of Education. And if on top of that, if it's going to happen, ask them, and this is what the media should be asking, how are you going to supplement the $1,500 to $2,000 that each child gets? That's an average student. The $2,000 to $4,000 or the $3,000 to $4,000 that the on top of that the student who is disabled, dyslexic, special needs, how are they going to get that money? Because the parents are going to have to either pay for it, the taxes are going to have to either rise. You're going to get it from our federal taxes, our state or property taxes, if it's going to be that our kid gets the exact same education they're getting now, in which they're saying, that the education isn't as good as it should be now. How does it get better with less money? None of this stuff makes sense. And those are the questions you need to start asking the politicians, and I'll do the same. But that's what I'm doing. Shortage of teachers now, Luigi. Yeah. And again, the teachers don't get paid well enough to do the things that they're doing. Like I said, when my kids were in school, we were subsidizing the teachers. I mean, parents, we were on a chart, and so my kids went elementary school all the way up to middle school. We had a chart that says what we're gonna bring. Oh, what's his name's dad? Yeah, it's me. Yeah, you got the paper this month and this week or whatever the heck it is. We need 3 reams of paper. We need this manila paper. We need these amount of pencils, and we need a big thing of crayons. And I'm sitting there like, the hell does the school provide? And so I had to bring these things, and other parents had their turns to bring it. And then you had a situation where there wasn't enough teachers, so they asked the parent to always come in and substitute, while the teacher gets a break or whatever, or work alongside the teacher to do projects. Many times I stayed with my kids, and I in their classroom and read books to the entire class while the teacher went to a meeting or something. It's a lot to ask of a parent who's working a full-time job. But if you love your kids, you do whatever you can. But the school should be providing that. And us trying to cut it, that's going to make it worse. Getting rid of it? Oh, my God. And I don't understand why the whole entire country isn't screaming out off the freaking charts. Like, no, don't do this. Don't do this. It's scary. I'm not having any more children. But the thing is, it's not about that. It's about the future children. And I don't have to be the parent of them. They're still family to me. And they should not have to be in bad situations because of this government. I have no problem paying taxes. I understand people are different than me. I have no problem paying taxes if you can take care of the kids like they need to be taken care of. That the parents are already strapped, don't have to keep coming out of pocket to pay for menial things. And on top of that, like say what it said, or was it Luigi, the teachers are coming out of pocket, yo. I mean, they're barely getting paid. And I promise you, at least I know for sure with my kids, I can't speak on everybody's teachers, of course, but my teachers were coming in, buying products and stuff like that and filling up the shelves in the schools for the kids. If the kid didn't have any food, the teacher's coming out of pocket buying food for him. I'm like, how do you survive? You're barely getting paid enough to do this gig. To be able to live out here, there's no way you can own a house. Not unless your husband just got it like that. But there's no way to you to own a house. The money you're making and how much you're buying these kids, when you see a kid hungry, you're buying their lunch. You're going out and getting stuff so you guys can do projects in school because the school can't pay for it. So you're going out and getting the paper. You're getting the Elmer's glue. You're getting the child safe scissors. You're getting the this and the that. And I'm saying, like, why is that coming out of your paycheck? I love the fact that you love your kids, but that should be going into your family's pocket. You're already doing a service by being here, and you're having to buy more? And we're saying, oh, let's cut. So what? So the teachers go broke trying to take care of your kids? I don't get it. I don't get it. I really don't. Greed is stupid. I'm going to tell you right now, greed is stupid. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of it. People being so greedy that you don't care about anybody else but yours. If you cared about the people around you, the people in your quote unquote village, things will be so much better in this country. And I keep preaching that every time I can. We need to care about those around us and those less fortunate, because you never know when you're going to need something. You never know when the world might come crashing down on you, and those very same people that you leaned on and helped, or they leaned on you and you helped them, when you need them, you can lean on them. But if you go in this world all by yourself and you got it, and don't care about nobody else, life is harsh for those who think they live this life alone. Those are the ones that get highly depressed because they think they're traveling on this earth by themselves. You're on this spinning sphere with billions of people for a reason. You guys make each other better. And as soon as you recognize that and start providing your gift as a service to somebody else to make their life better, the country and the world becomes a better place. We're always arguing and fighting over things. You can't take none of that shit with you. None of it. So why not enjoy it and love on people and be respectful and all? Why all this, hate and division for no reason? Why you have to go seek nonsense instead of living facts to make yourself feel better? That's ridiculous. People out here lying to themselves so they can feel better, but making everybody else's life stressed out because these people over here that you need maybe help from or need to get through to get to the next phase of your life, they're stuck in like denialism. It's like, I don't believe in this. I don't believe in that. And I'm like, okay, but that's a fact. I can understand if you don't believe in a certain religion. So again, that's everybody's opinion on that. But if 1 + 1 = 2, I don't know what to tell you. If you want to make it 4, I don't know what to tell you. Me and you just ain't on the same planet. You somewhere else. So why people do this, I do not know. It's got to be their feelings, because facts don't matter to them. And I don't know why their feelings want them to believe something that's not true so they can feel better about it. How about you go through the pain for a small time and know the truth and fight back on that truth, make it a better place, and you get through it. And then you really have a better life. You get through the pain and over to the other side. Not turn the pain into a joy and mask it. Who would do that? Would you mask cancer? Would you say, oh, yeah, I know I look bad. Let me put this makeup on. I'll be fine. No, you're dying. You need to literally take care of yourself. They're putting a mask over cancer and saying that they're cool. And like, nah, you're not. None whatsoever. You're sick. And you need to get help. Start learning factual stuff so that people like us don't have to be stressed out every day trying to get those people to better understand the world they live in. And I promise you, if many of us can get through life and not having to deal with them, we would love it. It's like, you know what? You go off into your little bubble, but you can't. You got to live with them. So you got to figure out how to work around them and live around them. Because I know people, hell, one of my neighbors, one of them. So I'm like, It's insane. It's insane. I don't know what's in the brain, but it is. It's scary, but it is what it is. But here's the thing: education, we need to fight for it. We should not be cutting it. Let's get to the Pentagon. Let's work on places where we're spending trillions of dollars for things that we're not using. Novel idea. And think about it. If we can cut a couple things that cost $1 trillion out of the government, we don't need to touch anything else. It's crazy. But anyway, so let's see. I agree teachers should be paid more because they're the ones dealing with unruly kids in the classroom with 10 to 20 kids in the class. That is, we should just do better. Exactly. And Vera, you're 100% right. These teachers, like I said, if you cut the money, Department of Education, like I said, there's only one of three things that can happen. That your class, your kids receive anywhere between $1,500 to $2,000 less of an education every year per child. And that's if they are not a person that needs special needs. If there's special needs, that's 3,000 to what did I say? 2,000, 3,000 to 4,000, $3,000 to $4,000 a year each student that they're going to miss out on. So how do you make that money up? That means they're going to get that less of an education, or your taxes, whether it be state, local, or property taxes, will go up by that amount. And think about it, that amount per child on average. So however many children in your community, $3,000 to $4,000, and divide, and that's for each child. But when you think about per home, you have to divide that by the homes in the community, and that's how much your taxes, property taxes, are going to go up. Or everything you buy in your city is going to go up. Whatever percentage tax you have right now is going to go up in order to pay for the education in which your kid is receiving right now, which many believe is subpar. And if not that, if those things don't happen, out of pocket, or if you have kids now, you're going to have to pay anywhere between $2,000 to $4,000 per child out of your own pocket. If they privatize it, it's going to probably be more than that. If they decide to just get rid of the Department of Education, that's how much it's going to be for you to have the same education that you have now. Why are we going through this, people? Why don't we fix what's working right now? You know what I'm saying? And invest more in what's working and take away what's not. One of the things I think personally, you know what I'm saying, that I think we should do is kind of like what, and this is, I don't know all of what India does. But, and I'm not saying we take their whole platform, but they have a good idea, I think. When I grew up, there were so many things that I was good at and I flourished at. And I'm sure the same is for you, right? And in so doing, you wanted to do that every day. When you came to school, it was like, oh yeah, when are we going to get to this? Or when are we going to get to that? And you had no problem. Mine was like drawing. I love drawing, the creative moments. I wouldn't even go out and play. I'd draw and stuff like that. Love drawing. I love English and I love math. So when I came to school, I just couldn't wait for those particular areas. But here's the thing. Why is it that, our kids, if we want to really kind of budget things right, whatever your child is good at and excels at, they should have classes mounted up with that. You want our kids to become great or brilliant? Stop dividing them amongst 500 classes. If you see that child is good at math and love math, and it's like it lights them up, of course, give them like a English class and things like that in the basic, but the majority of their stuff is set up for math. Explore how far that brain will go with math, right? Instead of giving them all these other classes that they're not going to use or they're just not passionate about, deal with that. Give them math, give them accounting, give them, all kinds of things that deal with math, so that you can tap into their brilliance and allow them to see themselves shine. One of the things I remember as a kid that would be disheartening and would kind of tear many kids down was that they would be in their math class and they're all super excited and everything like that, and they excelled. And then they would go to, biology, suck at it. And now they're like, yeah, I didn't do well. They're down. And it's like, why are kids going through these emotional roller coasters when you can literally let them do what they do best and give them an opportunity to be great at that? You know what I mean? I would say whatever you find that child to be good at, those are the classes that they should be having more of, right? Even this is early in age, so that you can be able to hone their gifts, their talents, instead of, kind of drown them out with a bunch of things that they're just not good at. And so over in India, I remember reading an article, this was years and years ago, that once they recognize, and this may be other countries too, a child is good, and I use math because of the situation, a child is good at math or whatever it may be, in this situation was math, then they're put into just mostly math classes to see at what level this person kind of like starts to have a challenge. You know what I mean? And so you start to say, okay, that person more likely going to grow up to be a mathematician, because they love the numbers, they're excited about the numbers, and they never get old. Well, more than likely they're going to find a gig within math and they get older, right? So those are the types of things I think that we should be doing. So if you want to cut back, you don't have to have as many classes. Find out what the kids are good at. Get the basics, kindergarten through 6th grade. From 6th grade on, what is that kid good at? What is she good at? What is he good at? Oh, math, English, science. Put them in those courses only. And therefore, you don't have to have so many classes on so many different things. That's one way that we can do it. To me, that's a better way to tap into the brilliance of each child, and also allow them to have that self-confidence that they know what they're doing and they're excelling at it. Because I've seen too many times that kids that were put into like, learning disabled classes when, especially when I grew up, when all they had was dyslexia and nobody diagnosed it. But you around them, you're like, man, this dude's smart. What are you talking about? But when they look at numbers, they look at something, everything's backwards. That doesn't mean they're learning disabled. It just means something's up with the way they see things. So we need some extra help. But are there dyslexic classes or whatever to be able to help them? Back then, it wasn't. It was just you're on your own. And so if you didn't know that, if you had known that back then, you would put them in classes that, that was catering to dyslexic children. And you wouldn't have to put them through all these needless classes to make them feel like they're not smart, to the point where they believe they're not smart because that's all they hear. And then when they find out the problem that they have, their self-esteem is already destroyed. They got to build it. We should be able to find that, tap into it, and allow our children to become all they were created to be as best as possible, to give them that understanding that sometimes you're going to fail, but there are places where you exceed and excel, and we want you to tap into that. Tap into what really you're happy about and what'll drive you every day to do. And you'll start seeing yourself blossom and believing yourself so much that even if you wanted to do another class, you automatically believe you can do it, because you automatically see how brilliant you are at math, or how brilliant you are at writing poetry and articles, and how brilliant you are, in athletics or whatever. And those are the types of things that I think that we could do to make it a lot less expensive. And, being able to tap into, you don't have to spend for all these particular things. Whatever your child's good at is the only thing that you're focused on. That's just me. But I just came up with that idea because of seeing different countries and how they work and how they benefit from it. Those kids usually excel and get careers in what they're brilliant at. Because one thing I realized when we were going to college, when I was going to college in the 90s, a lot of my friends, whenever you ask them, I always kind of knew what I wanted to do, entertainment and things of that nature. But I have friends who didn't. A majority of my friends who didn't. So we would be in college and like, what do you want to do? I don't know. I mean, you're in college right now paying what, $20,000, $30,000 a year? You have no idea where you want to be? I don't even know what I'm interested in. I'm like, Say what? No, I'm just taking this class. I'm taking the first year or two. They're just taking classes all over the place to see what they're interested in. If their schools had tapped into what they were interested in as kids, they'd be passionate about something by the time they get to college, right? You would think, but it's not always the case. Thank you, Jay Grant. I appreciate it. That's the way I look at it. We need to appreciate education, because if we don't, our kids are going to be in places that they don't want to be in. And I understand education doesn't always mean necessarily school, but it does mean to be educated so you can go talk to, a person about stocks and learn online. You can go learn about other things to make yourself better. But if you don't give your kids that extra push, that's something they're great at or brilliant at, they're gonna find themselves to feel like they're mediocre. They're just blah. And no child, no individual on this planet is just blah. You just haven't tapped into your own brilliance yet. There's something about you that nobody else has. And you may not have found that because you've never taken the time to follow your passions that lead you to your purpose. And when you do that, create a service with your purpose and you'll become all you were created to be. That's how simple it really is. Now, don't get me wrong, it takes work and it takes time. But what it does, it gives you a formula on how to get wherever you want to be in life, even if it's a step by step, even if it's part-time. But those are the things that will make your life feel full when you doing something that you have a purpose behind. And then you realize with your purpose, you're serving somebody with your brilliance. All of us need each other. If you're brilliant at doing taxes, I need you, right? If I'm brilliant at what I do, you need me. Just be yourself, become brilliant at it. Don't try to be like anybody else because you won't win. You'll forever lose trying to be somebody else that you're not. But you can always be inspired by others. But doing it the exact same way, it's not you. And if you're doing something that's not you, it gets old real quick. So seek to be you. And education is key. It doesn't have to be always a high school or college or whatever it may be. What you're passionate about, what you're great at, get an education in that, and you'll thrive. You'll not only get a job, you'll find a career. If not, your own business. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I just wanted to leave you with that. Something positive instead of me talking about earlier, starting about school and all that, but I get it. I want all children to be educated. I want all of them to have a life that they deserve and not what some billionaires put on their hearts and in their minds or takes away from them so that they can go buy extra yachts. The moment we start caring about each other, we'll start to see that privatizing schools, taking funding away from schools is not the best thing for Americans, for America, or any of your children, for that matter, or friends' children if you don't have any kids. So let's just end this with, let's care about people. Let's get our kids educated. Let's make this place a better place than it was the year before. No going back, only moving forward. All right? Much love to y'all. I'll see y'all tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. As always, I appreciate y'all. I'm going to go over to my other TikTok and do my mental health show. I need to meditate right about now, but I enjoy you guys. Thank you for the gifts. Anyone who gave me gifts, you also see cash apps and things of that nature. That helps me continue to do what I do and make things a little bit better. I got more stuff to offer, but I thank you guys for supporting the show. And I look forward to seeing you tomorrow or the next day. Y'all be safe, right? And we're going to see you tomorrow at 5 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Y'all take care.